is Nigeria Info.
Nigeria Info.
This is Nigeria Info.
Law Mefo with us in the studio. You are welcome, sir.
Thank you, Kim.
Dr. Law Mefo is...
We are the happiest people.
Yes! It's a by mental state that we are the second happiest people in Africa.
You know the reason?
Why is that, sir?
Fela told us.
What, suffering and smiling?
And smiling. It's simple.
So we know how to mask the suffering
yes.
and then give the impression that everything is okay.
Yeah, in psychology, you call that a reaction formation.
Oh, yeah.
So you can actually mask your inner feelings and present the opposite to the public. Nigerians are very good at that. And that's it, for good or for bad.
Yeah.
That is who we are.
Who we are, indeed. Once upon a time, we used to go by the title happiest people in the world. So apparently...
It's they say the state of the mind, whatever that means. Well, you leave that for proper and full interrogation. For another day.
Well,
it's going to take time if you want us to go into it.
I quite agree with you. Just so you know, Dr. Lomefo is a social psychologist, a forensic psychologist also.
That's correct.
So this is your area of expertise also.
That's my forte.
Yeah, as much as you are into the media space, also journalism.
Yeah. I trained in journalism.
Yeah.
I also practice
journalism.
I do.
I'm aware of that,
Oh,
sir.
yes.
So we're really excited to have you join us on the show
pleasure
today.
is mine.
All right, then. So let's start off touching on security. This one has the propensity of just sapping the joy out of you when we start to discuss the issue of security in Nigeria. And since 2014 April, when Chibok girls were abducted, we thought, somehow 10 years after, we should have gone past that, but it's still happening. School abductions are still going on. Abduction of people on the road, kidnapping and all whatnot is still pretty much a major concern for us in the country. And just last week, we were talking about the school children who were abducted in Kaduna State and some also in Sokoto State. And the state government, even though yesterday there was a statement put out saying they have not recruited anyone to act as negotiators for them, but people are wondering, so what's the next step? Government is talking tough on the state level and on the federal level that it will ensure that all the school children are rescued. But, for a lot of people, we've heard that before. And sometimes it takes a long time for that rescue to eventually happen. Well, a Kaduna-based cleric, Sheikh Ahmed Gumi, he's coming forward this time around with his intention to dialogue with the bandit who abducted about 287 school children from Kuriga Government School, Secondary and LEA Primary School in the Chikun local government area of the state. Gumi said this in a bid to facilitate the release of the abducted school children should President Bola Ahmed Tinubu give him the opportunity to negotiate. And according to the prominent Islamic scholar, Tinubu must not repeat the mistake made by President Buhari, who refused to dialogue with bandit. According to report, the bandit invaded the Kuriga area of Chikun local government area of Kaduna State, shooting at their victims before taking away at least 280 of the pupils and teachers from both schools. The incident occurred barely 24 hours after insurgents abducted 200 internally displaced women in Borno State. The women were kidnapped in Ngala, the headquarters of Gambaru, Ngala in Borno State, while fetching firewood in the bush. And penultimate Thursday, bandits invaded the Goningora in the same Chikun local government, prompting residents to barricade the Kaduna-Abuja Expressway in protest against the abduction of unspecified number of people in the area. And I remember we followed the coverage of that where they were burning, stuff and saying enough of this is going on already. There are a lot of layers to looking at this one. From first, we have Sheikh Gumi who is coming forward, and we know how it was the last time Better Baptiste and a few other kidnapping happened. He offered his services, but it was a little messy how it panned out eventually. As a matter of fact, there were allegations of someone who was tied to him, who was benefiting and profiting off of it. Is the government, or should the government, take up the offer of bringing Gumi in at this point in time? Should we be negotiating with bandits at this point in time? And Nigeria, how do we get ourselves out of this mess?
Well, the news from Nigeria has been so depressing of late. And sometimes I feel like shutting myself in and letting go of anything and everything that has to do with news from Nigeria. Too depressing. And since the coming of Boko Haram into the Nigerian political space, it has been one calamity after another. But I personally believe, from my training in social psychology, my training in forensic psychology. By the way, my specialty is conflict, peace building.
Oh, okay.
And my PhD thesis is on counterterrorism.
Oh.
So I have a bit of an idea of what is going on and why it is going on. And one of the major factors responsible for why we are where we are is a politicization of national security. In other words, you have a political dimension of a terrorism.
Correct, yeah.
People some people see terrorists as freedom fighters. Some have actually voiced it out. Some have called not only for negotiation with terrorists and bandits, but also for outright amnesty, equating the terrorism and terrorist acts with the Niger Delta economic agitation. In other words, for such people, the terrorists of the North are freedom fighters fighting for the North the way the Niger Delta militants are fighting for the Niger Delta. That is the tragedy. And our leaders have keyed into this. Many leaders who should have acted promptly when terrorism began in Nigeria didn't act. So, life is about consequences. Every action taken has consequence, positive or negative. And many of the consequences are cumulative in nature. What that means is that what you didn't deal with today will come tomorrow to haunt you in a bigger capacity and magnitude. That's how we got here. I recall the days of Jonathan as president. Jonathan had an ample opportunity to nip terrorism in the bud. But there were leaders who said that the measures of Jonathan were targeted at reducing the population of the North. The records are out there. I don't want to start mentioning names. You can find those. It's out there. Google doesn't forget and forgive. So Google will always bring back, regurgitate all these things. Now, recall that then also General Azubike Hejirika was the chief of army staff. He cornered the Boko Haram terrorists somewhere in Baga and was determined to wipe them out. There was an outcry. Hejirika had to pull back. The people, their boldness escalated from there. In fact, a group even reported Hejirika to ICC, International Criminal Court, because of the tough measures he adopted to stop terrorism.
Well, they alleged that there were a lot of human rights abuses in the operation.
That is the question. Human rights abuses with terrorists? That is where we are. So that's why I said that the problem is coming from the fact that some people who are high up there see terrorists as freedom fighters. So they didn't agree that they needed to be annihilated.
In the initial state, that impression was there, and we got to see it with several agitations across the country.
And it hasn't changed, as far as I am concerned. So by the time we
Can
got
I come in here?
serious.
If you say it hasn't changed at this point, given the fact that the region is the biggest victim of all of this, and a lot of people are scared silly of how this has grown out of proportion, would it still be in order to say they still have that level of sympathy?
But, you just talked about Gumi. Gumi was one of those asking for amnesty. Even now, Gumi is saying negotiate with the terrorists and the bandits. That's his position. He's one of the people I refer to. And he is offering again to negotiate with the bandits. Do you know how much they are calling for? 40 trillion naira for ransom. That is bigger than Nigeria's annual budget. You can Google Nigeria's annual budget. Almost 2 years annual budget of Nigeria. That is what terrorists are asking for, to release the children. And somebody is putting himself forward to negotiate when the asking price is 40 trillion. And you also ask, should Nigeria even negotiate? In principle, you don't negotiate with terrorists. I don't want to know what government is doing under the table, but on no account should government admit that it's negotiating. Things happen behind the scene. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Things happen behind the scene. And Nigeria government has actually, at one point or the other, negotiated to bring back some of these people, like the Dapchi victims, where
one girl was left behind.
You remember the case of Leah Sheribo?
Yeah.
That, the rest of her colleagues were brought back based on negotiation. The negotiation doesn't always have to be money. You exchange with the terrorists that are in your in custody. It happens, but officially, government must never, even caught in the act, government must never admit to be negotiating with terrorists. You know why? It is in itself reinforcing. In learning psychology, we, through research, discovered that any behavior that is not punished ends up being repeated again. So when you offer positive reinforcement, which negotiation is an ample example of, you are actually positively reinforcing terrorism in the country. And it will lead to further escalation. Some leaders, for one reason or the other, took that route. I have a video, on Channels Television by Nasir El-Rufai as governor of Kaduna State, admitting to negotiating with the killer headsmen as a way of stopping their reprisal attacks. He also admitted that somewhere along the line, he noticed that this is not working.
Indeed. And that's why I was very vocal when Kaduna and Zamfara went
You see the problem? You see why governments don't want to get involved in that? Look at what they do. When you give them money as a way of placating them, they use the money to arm themselves, recruit more members, and buy more sophisticated weapons. That was how insecurity degenerated in Imo State and Anambra State, my state. How? Because the former governors were giving them money to buy peace. As you were giving money to buy peace, they were using the money to build their camps, recruit people, train them, arm them. Now, the current governors don't want to follow that process. Soludo doesn't want that, and is having problems with them. You see where you see, and it's the same thing you find all across the country. You don't negotiate with terrorists. You don't. Because the money you give them, do you understand what I'm saying? They will use in equipping themselves, recruiting more people. Do you know, look, if somebody is asking for 40 trillion,
which is ridiculous, by the way.
Which is unthinkable. What do you think the person will settle for eventually? Do you understand what I'm saying? If I come to you for a help of 1 million naira, do you think you will give me 10,000? You wouldn't think it will mean anything to me. So if somebody is looking for 40 trillion, even 1 trillion may seem meager.
May not cut it.
May not really cut it with the person.
Well, we know that with these terrorists, they've even set their target pretty high. Even at 100 million was preposterous for a lot of Nigerians.
Yes, it is. It is. But if you noticed, progressively, they have been upping their ante, because they have been, emboldened by the political protection they get. They have people who are up there who will, who one way or another, and somehow we're speaking for them. And government, don't forget, is made up of human beings. And they too, they follow these things. You want peace in the country and all that. And people are saying, why don't you negotiate with these people and have some peace? But the peace you get through that process is very temporary. And because they have grown in number and capacity, because we didn't deal with the situation when we should, they have grown, they have recruited more people, they have even brought more stranded terrorists across the Sahel. Terrorists from Mali, from ISIS, from Al-Qaeda, from the Maghreb, are all here in Nigeria. They have converged in Nigeria.
Well, the speaker, not the speakers, but one of the special aides to the president,
yes.
Angrin Gelali, alluded to that when he was talking about the sub-regional part of it, that sort of conspiracy, implying
that's what I mean by that's what I mean by political dimensions. This is multidimensional. There are people. They understand what I'm saying? There are people who are recruiting these terrorists from outside Nigeria and offering them abodes in the country. Look, there is one video you need to look for. Honorable Baraje told us how bandits entered Nigeria. A former member of House of Representatives. He said they were brought in around 2014 to ensure that Jonathan didn't return to power. And when Jonathan didn't offer any fight, they didn't, those who brought them, it didn't settle them and send them back. And of course, one of their spokes...
One would attribute that to a politician just talking.
No, but that's a very serious security allegation that needed to be interrogated. And Nigerians debriefed. If the man was just making a political statement, the DSS should pick on the man to substantiate his claim. Do you get my point? But if you don't, if you keep quiet, it means you have actually acquiesced. And when you do so, your silence becomes acceptance. You don't allow such things to stick in a polity. But it's been there. The man told you, how this happened. And one of the promises from the revelation of Baraje was that they were offered a stay in Nigeria. So, that's it. And this has been going on. Before Dr. Obadiah Lafayette died, he told us that as many as 112 communities have been sacked in Plateau. By who? By these invaders. Even the then president of Nigeria, Muhammad Buhari, told us that most of these people are not Nigerians.
That they were coming from Libya.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, if the president said so, as he then was, he was in a position to know. So if most of these people are not ours, why are we treating them with kids' gloves? And they now brought in more of their people, and they have taken over all our forests across Nigeria. Our forests across Nigeria. You have no countermeasures. You have no forest rangers to keep the forest safe. So you discover that because you abandoned, you abdicated your security responsibilities as far as your forests are concerned, you have invariably allowed your forest to constitute an ungoverned space. More than half of Nigerian forests, more than half, is not under the control of the Nigerian government and the security. Because they are not there.
Maybe because we do not have the capacity to actually do that.
It is part of it. The capacity is weak. For example, Nigerian police force is inadequate in number, in capacity, in training, in motivation, in number. Let me illustrate my claim with the number of Nigerian police force. We are 230 million people. Nigerian police officers and men are only 371,000. You can Google it. Policing 220 to 30 million people? How? Where has that happened? Not only the sheer number, we are not a homogeneous population. Nigeria is made up of well over
200, are you talking about our population?
Yes, we are made
200 million.
We are made up of over 250 ethnic groups.
Oh, okay.
Spread in 774 local governments, in 8,012 wards, in 176,606 polling units, if you want to use the INEC formula. This will show you how diverse the country is.
Indeed.
Now, out of these 371,000 police officers and men, well over 150,000 of them are following politicians and their wives. Do you see the tragedy? So the actual number of Nigerian policemen available for proper core police duty are not up to 250,000. I stand to be corrected. And what is the salary of an inspector? You can check it. I have seen a DPO that told me he gets less than 20,000 naira. I don't know whether it's a week, a month now, to run his station. No, in fact, there are police stations, not post stations in Nigeria without one working vehicle. So you can go on. And these are people you expect to go out after the criminals. How? You don't. In fact, there's an adage. I'm Igbo, from Anambra. I will say it in Igbo and attempt a translation. You don't chase that which is dangerous, that could bite with your bare hands.
So knowing that we're in a very precarious position at this point in time,
yes.
How do we even get ourselves? Because sometimes I honest to God, as a Nigerian, I often lay in my bed and wonder, how do we get out of this? Because it took a long time coming to get here.
We can get out of it. First and foremost, nations are built by patriots and statesmen. Nigeria is short on both. We don't have patriots who are in key leadership positions. You don't have statesmen who are in key leadership positions. The people you have in most of the very sensitive positions in Nigeria are men and women who are out there, who are in those positions for their own personal good. That is why you see this level of criminal accumulation. You bring money to take care of the IDP camps. You bring money to take care of the vulnerable people who are stranded, dismissed from their abodes by natural disasters. Somebody will go away with the billions and sees nothing wrong with it.
Impunity.
So you understand that. So you can say one Yoruba politician of First Republic, I can't remember his name now. He said he described Nigeria as a peculiar mess. Peculiar. Because you have a place where there is cause to believe that the leaders themselves don't believe in Nigeria. They act as if they don't care if Nigeria fails. They act as if, do you know, most of the leaders you see have dual and multiple nationalities of these Caribbean countries. And they are making your laws. Making laws when you are holding another country's passport, which you acquired when you got into the position. Does it really show that you are working for this place to work for you and for your children?
So leadership, we have that gap.
Leadership is the number. In fact, everything rises and falls on leadership. Nigeria has 3 problems. Number 1 is leadership. Number 2 is leadership. And number 3 is leadership. Nothing else. You don't have leaders who believe in Nigeria. You don't have leaders who will go out of their way. In fact, it is the leaders that will stand in the gap. That even the creator will look at them and have mercy on the rest of the country. But you have people who don't care. You know, in a clinical psychology and psychiatry generally, we see somebody who steals what he doesn't need as having a mental problem. So when one individual steals 100 billion, you can use a calculator. Even if he spends 20 million every day, he will not finish it, assuming he's going to live for another 100 years. So you can see that he's sick. And they're your leaders. They are the ones who are the leaders. They are the ones making the decisions. Look, you need structural readjustment of the country security architecture. This is the time, inescapably the time, for state police, community police, and what you call forest rangers.
I'm glad you came here with this.
For tier police system must come now before the end of this year.
All right.
Otherwise, we'll lose it all.
Okay, you said we have the police, we have the state police, we have the community police, and then the forest rangers.
Then the forest police.
Apparently, the government is now open to this idea. I know it was heavily resisted by the last administration. Tinubu's administration met with some governors, and the idea seemed appealing to a certain extent. But to seeing how to implement it, I don't know how much they're thinking about it at the moment.
It's very simple. The fear is the likely abuse.
Yeah, true, yeah.
The federal police, is it not being abused?
But multiply the abuse by 36 states.
Good. Now, let me tell you the difference. You know, if you allow the willing states to create their own state and community police, right? Under proper legal framework, you will deal substantially with this escalating insecurity in Nigeria. 2 things you need to put in place. Of course, you know that the Nigerian Constitution, I don't know whether is it 174, section 174 or so now, says that there shall be only one police force for Nigeria. And no part thereof should create any structure that is police. In other words, the so-called Amotekun, Ebubago, even Hisba, they are all affronts to the Nigerian Constitution.
But they have legislation backing, for example, Amotekun and Ebubago.
That's the point I'm making. The ground norm of Nigeria is the Constitution. You cannot create any structure by act of Parliament, because that is what the states have done. By an act of Parliament that runs counter to any express provision of the Constitution. It is null and void to the extent of its inconsistency. The issue is that the federal government has not decided to challenge it. Do you understand that? But again,
But what's the point challenging it at the point where we're saying this is time to restructure our architecture in terms of security architecture?
But they can't suffice for state police. Hisba can't suffice for state police. Ebubago can't. The Amotekun can't for these 3 reasons. One is that you need to properly train them. You need to properly arm them. You need to properly pay them. The arms, what makes a security operative really who he should be, right? 2 things. His stomach. I think it was V.I. Lenin of the Bolshevik Revolution that said that the soldiers march on their stomach. The next is the kind of arms he has. That is what makes a place like Israel tick. Do you understand that? if you want, you need to arm your police before it can become proper police. Now, the IG...
Are we looking at the police or the military itself, generally?
No, I'm giving you an example. Okay. You see, the kind of arms you need to have a proper police force will have to be military-grade rifles.
Wow.
AK-47 minimum. No IG or police will license military rifles to Amotekun or Ebabago. No IG will do that.
What if we have the right,
you can take it up.
What if we have the right legislation amended on the federal level, where our constitution
amend
is
the constitution?
Amended,
you're now coming to what I'm saying. Amend the constitution and move police away from the federal exclusive list to concurrent. Once you do that, the states will have powers to set up their own police. Those who are willing. Because even if you go to a place like the US, it's not all the states in the US that have police force. So those who are willing, like those who are saying that, the money is on campaign salary and how are we sure that they will run a police? It's not a must that you should set up your own police force. But you should have the right to set it up if you need one.
All right.
Do you get the point? If you need one, you set up one. And there are structures that must be in place going beyond the legal framework, which, of course, like I said, starts with amending that section that says there shall be one police force. You go beyond that also. You will have to, clearly through the law, share responsibilities between the state police and the federal police. In other words, both the police operatives and the citizens will know what constitutes a federal offense and what constitutes a state offense, and how they will collaborate. Who calls in who? When you say you have state police, it does not mean that the Nigerian federal police will not be in states. They will be in states manning a federal government interest in those places, like the federal highways in the states, like government structures where you have CBN, you have any manner of federal government establishment, the judiciary and so on and so forth. That is their job. But there should be a clear way they collaborate. Where the state police is overwhelmed, they should be able to collaborate with the federal police to deal with specific issues. In other words, where it comes to state offenses, the intervention of the federal police must be predicated on invitation. It's just like Nigerian police is bringing the military into internal operations, internal security operations of Nigeria. You will find the Nigerian military in more than 30 states carrying out internal security operations, which is a statutory preserve of Nigeria Police Force. So the same thing is what you expect should be done through the law. You don't stop there. You need to set up very solid state police service commission that will be independent of the executive. In other words, two things you must do. The State Police Service Commission should be on a first-line charge. In other words, they will not have to depend on the state governors for their money.
There will be statutory provisions for that?
Yes, for that, by law. That is how an institution like INEC works. INEC is on a first-line charge. They don't need to wait for the president for their money. Once they take their budget to National Assembly, they get their money almost automatically. The same thing should apply to the state police service commission under this state police arrangement. You don't stop there. You must guarantee the tenure of members, of the chairman and the members. You can't remove the chairman. The governor cannot remove the chairman, cannot remove the members of the commission without passing through the law. There must be a disciplinary committee set up possibly by the state assembly or the judiciary to try the allegation of the governor, and then 2/3 minimum of the House of Assembly must vote to remove such a person before he goes. So a governor shouldn't just drink a whiskey and wake up and say you're no longer...
That way he can act on whims and just automatically just remove someone.
And then you look for proper people and nominate them into the place. We have retired army generals. We have retired police commissioners. We have retired members of the armed forces. Do you understand that? We have seasoned journalists. We have members of community-based organizations, civil service organizations, faith-based organizations. These are the people that should constitute the state police service commission. When you have, look, let me tell you, if you have a retired army general as chairman of a commission, and the law is clear on what he should do, and governor says he should do something else, and his tenure is guaranteed by law, his money is guaranteed by law. If he kowtows to the whims of the governor, he's a criminal. Do you understand that? So when people, it means it's not what is named.
This is one perfect way to addressing that abuse that a lot of Nigerians fear.
Yes, to reduce it at least, make it bearable. And the governor, don't forget that governors are not permanent members of their respective offices and tenures.
For 8 years maximum.
You will leave, and you will be held accountable by the law for the excesses when you were in office. That is why EFCC is going after some of them. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
The same way they should be gone after for abuses they perpetrated using the state police. Let me tell you. See, I can tell you for free, authoritatively, the majority of these governors have their private armies.
Okay, you are speaking on
authoritatively. I'm a man in the field. I am not.
Army sounds like a strong word. Perhaps their personal security or police.
Yes, when I say private army, you know what I mean. What I mean is, you see, they have all manner of vanguards.
Oh, okay.
You know, they have, and who are these people? Who are these people? These are cultists. These are thugs. These are criminals that these governors have armed.
All of them or some of them?
Most of them. And they use them for elections. And after that, let them loose. They let them loose with the arms. That is part of the security we face. So, contrary to the claim of people that governors will abuse the state police, we are saying bring the excesses of the governors under the law. Because here, you have a formal structure. The code of conduct is there. Recruitment of people into the place is another measure that must be put in place. There must be profiling, very clear profiling. We want to be sure that an applicant into the state police has no record of being an ex-convict, of being a cultist, of being a criminal of any sort. And in the state there, we know ourselves. We know ourselves. So if you are required to bring a letter of attestation from your parish priest, from your traditional ruler, from the president general of your town, if I were one, will I give you a letter of attestation if I know you're a cultist? Because I know I'll be held responsible for your excesses. It doesn't mean that you will have angels in there eventually. But my dear, you will, with such measures, bring the operatives under the searchlight of the law. In other words, whatever they do that is not within the operational guidelines, you pay for it.
All right. We should take a break at this point and just hear feedback from the gentleman, the lady who are listening to our conversation at this point in time, what they make of it. We're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at Nigeria Info Abuja on Facebook, at Nigeria Info Abuja on YouTube. Ike Ajala says, please, the mobile app is not... Okay, sorry about that. Prince Zenze, other country police are talking about M19 and co. We're talking about this old AK-47 the moment. When the one police system is not helping out, what should we do? We need a review, please. The old system is not functional, he went on to say. And Odo Ugochukwu, okay, lamenting about the state of the country. Same thing with Emmanuel, who would intervene for us. Mokama, Wilfred, and Demola. I see all of your comments. Let's go to the phone line. 0700 951 0000. Or you can call us via WhatsApp on 0809 9930 137. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Welcome.
And good afternoon to our guests. You are welcome, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, my brother.
My name is Salati. In fact, so happy, delighted to hear from you. What this our guest rightly say from the starting is the truth. We remember during the time of Ejurika, he wanted to crush these bandits, this Boko Haram. The northern elders come up. They know. They report him to the egg. Now, look at what we are facing. Remember the Chibok girl that were kidnapped in 2014. We still remember the story of Leah Sharibu in February 2018. And still also now, Leah Sharibu, she's still there. We remember in 2020, when President even visited his hometown, about 300 boys were kidnapped in Kankara, Katsina State. Now we are still talking about 280 boys kidnapped, and someone is coming for negotiation. Why can't government go against that man? Why can't government arrest that man? It's the same person that they used during the negotiation of the train victims. About 200 million were paid for the expatriates, and 100 million were paid. And this man does move freely. Now he's coming as a negotiator, and government is just looking at it. Then the terrorists will never end until they started getting them, taking their people, getting their family member arrested before they will do something about that. How will you be?
All right.
How many 40 trillion? Just imagine, it's out of sense.
All right.
Must do the needful, or else it will get to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Selassie. Maybe we'll just keep it at a minute so we hear others. Hello?
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Mom.
We can hear you. Go ahead. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mrs. Omeza.
Okay. I'm watching the brother in the studio. It's my brother, and he spoke so well that I have no option than to say, "Oga, oil dey your head." But I want to disagree with you on one particular point. You talked about having state policing, community policing, and forest rangers, and that particular institution should be as independent.
Mrs. Omeza, your connection, there's some distortion. Hello?
Is truly independent?
Oh dear. Mrs. Omeza, I'm so sorry. The connection is really bad. Hello?
Yeah, good afternoon, Kim.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, Maskuma calling from Abu. Afternoon to our guests there.
Good afternoon, my brother.
Our guests have spoken it all. You see, little things, when they happen, little mistake, if you say it's a minor thing and you overlook it, it will come back to haunt you tomorrow in a bigger form. However it is, we find ourselves where we are now. The solution is what our guests are just said. State policing and forest rangers. And then when it comes to negotiating with a terrorist, are you encouraging them? Negotiate what? Negotiate what? If really we want to lay our hands on these people, somebody is going there to sit with them, to discuss with them. Is that person not a Nigerian? Is he one of them? Can't he aid our government to lead us to where those people are? Look at small children who left home in search of knowledge to school in the forest presently now. We are saying we should negotiate. You see, our leaders are the cause of all where we find ourselves, like our guest rightly said. And presently, we still have leaders who are dining with this Boko Haram. They are the ones making them invisible. If not, they are not as strong as they think they are or as we believe they are.
All right.
Our leaders who are dining with them are the ones making them invisible. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, welcome.
Good afternoon, Kim.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon to your guest. My name is Abubakar.
Good afternoon, my brother.
The United Arab Emirates come out with some list. There is a exposure of terrorists in Nigeria. The terrorists, and what did Nigerian government do about it? When Ihejirika was chief of army staff, a group in the Northern had come out fighting against Boko Haram is fighting against a Northern. So Nigerian government are not serious. Nigerian government should go and sit down. Thank you very much.
If they sit down, who will get the job done? They should better stand and be working. There's a lot on their plate at the moment. Hello.
Yeah, hello, Kim.
Welcome.
Good afternoon. This is Jex.
Welcome, Jex.
Thank you. Good afternoon to our guests.
Good afternoon, my brother.
Yeah. Kim, I guess I've said it all. You see one thing, Nigeria entirely, I don't know how to put it, but they don't hijack this country. The reason being that, I know I'm a retired military personnel, Nigerian Army to be precise. There are nothing about this security of a thing that we don't know. This Boko Haram of a thing, what is it called, bandit of a thing. If you leave it for Nigerian Army, if not politics, there's no how you leave this thing for Nigerian military. In 2 weeks, you stop hearing about insecurity in Nigeria entirely. So there's a lot of SWAT that will never discuss about Nigerian government of a thing. This is my first time since I've been calling on this radio station, or since I've been listening. This is the first time I'm calling to discuss anything about Nigeria. Reason being that the thing is, all this year is just being precise. If they allow Nigerian army or Nigerian military entirely to do something about it without politics, you stop hearing anything about this insecurity, killing. In 2014, when the other people were trying to kill their people, that was when Nigeria was supposed to work. I was in the military then. When to fight insecurity of 18, they were saying that the was not killing anybody. The were actually killing those people that were meant to destroy this country. And people have listened to their cry and removed the and brought in what is it called? Buratai. And since then, they hijacked the country.
All right,
so
Jax.
It will never work. It will never work. The country. If you want to start this something, let us by arresting Gumi first. Let us start by attacking Gumi. What is it called? Arresting Gumi. If they can't arrest him, my sister, nothing will be done.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, on what ground would you really arrest him when it comes to that? God's Love Channel says, okay, Annie Joseph, sir, you're truly on point. I think it's high time the government put Gumi where he belongs. Great show. Gunlade Taiwo Johnson says, is Nigeria really ready to solve insecurity issues because it's in their advantage? But if care is not taken, banana will eat the monkey. Pastor TJ is listening from Dubai. I've never heard of that. Banana has a mouth. Well done to our guest in the studio. His name is Dr. Law Mefo, for those who are asking. Dr. Law Mefo is our guest in the studio.
Yes, the name hasn't changed.
Yes, it hasn't. It's been consistent for years. Whether we want to hear it or not, politicians are the problem of Nigeria. Correct. I don't know how we allow people with dual citizenship to govern us. Our constitution needs to be amended, but I don't see the lawmakers doing much about it, says Stephen. Good afternoon to our respectable doctor. I'm thinking this is the first time I'm listening to him. Well, this is the first time he's coming on the Roundtable. Not his first time on Nigeria Info, but first time
Kim doesn't want to bring me on.
Sir, rest assured, going by comments, some are saying, Kim, please bring him more often. So it has gone out of my hand. The people have spoken. It says, all right, I'm impressed by his in-depth knowledge about insecurity and terrorism. His postulation about state police is spot on. Some of the cultists and terrorists have found themselves into the position of community and state leadership. As a result, the situation in our hand is pathetic and almost becoming hopeless. As much as I am pro-state police, he's pro-state police. Comrade Johnson from Utaku sent that one. He agrees to the fact of a state police at this point in time. Good afternoon, Kim. Good afternoon to our guest. Well spoken. It irritates me to see so much power bestowed on all some of these religious leaders. My suggestion on the way forward is for all leaders in different regions of the country, north, south, religious leaders, monarchs of the land, they should support and provide solution and ways to stop banditry killing, particularly in the north where it's common. The Sultan should come in, religious leaders should come in also, fathers and the like should come in. People should be brought to book. Let all tell the Sultan to examine the people around them, stand up and do the right thing and be in charge of plan to help the military safeguard their people. Eze from Zubai saying they need to be
very important points they have made. Very important points. Whether we like it or not, I told you, life is all about consequences. Things you failed to do today will come to haunt you tomorrow. That's exactly what has happened to us. And they come, with vengeance because, it has not accumulated.
Yeah.
It's just like, a compound interest in banking. Your interest you should have paid when you fail to pay. It keeps growing the principal. It gets to the point where you become like Nigeria. Nearly 90% of our annual budget in a year
debt.
or two, use not to pay debt. That's one thing Nigerians don't know. To service
debt.
Service means to pay the interest. Do you get the point?
Yeah, I do.
So the principal is still there breathing and they're gathering weight. We just have to put our ass together. The one problem, I think it was Obasanjo that got that statement.
We need to go for the news.
No problem.
We need to go for the news. We'll take it up after the news. Let's take a quick break and enjoy a berebe for the news at the top of the hour. Stay with us.
And back. This is Nigeria Info.